I have as many memories of you as there are in a forest trees. You're my only love, so ring me, please.
Petch wrote poetry, or at least, looked at poetry and kept poetry. It may be that he was kind of romantically inclined and was seeking some kind of solace in poets' writings, but probably he was immersing himself in some kind of fantasy world.
I have also received many text messages since we broke up, most of them from Michael professing his love for me and asking for forgiveness. Some around Easter were particularly disturbing in that they were written in the context of us still being together.
The text messages continued, the phone calls continued, up to 40, 50 times a day. And Claire was at the end of her tether.
A statement Claire later gave to a police officer reveals the effect the stalking was having on her.
This all caused me to be distracted at work. This is affecting my sleeping pattern in that I haven't slept as I'm scared that he's waiting outside.
Stalking is always very destructive to the life of the victim. People can come to live in fear. They may have to alter their behaviours, alter their work patterns because of the stalking. And this can cause anxiety, depression, even post-traumatic stress disorder.
I've also had to change my phone number due to the amount of calls and texts he had sent.
The harassment lasted for about 5 weeks. Instead of it slowing down, it accelerated. And Claire then started to feel frightened. He said to her, if I can't have you, nobody else will. And that scared her. And we just, neither Claire and I knew what to do about the situation.
When he threatened, if I can't have you, no one else will, this is the classic phrase, if you like, that usually raises alarm bells, when we're looking at stalkers, because it is that phrase and that encapsulates the danger element of stalking. In other words, it's a possessive thing. This is not romantic love, this is not caring for a person, this is total control, meaning, if I can't have my way and own you, I will make sure no one else does, by whatever means. That is ultimately the essence of what stalking behaviour is and should always be taken very seriously.
Claire still didn't realise the full extent of the danger she was in. 2 women a week are killed by a current or former partner. Pesch's behaviour took an even more sinister turn when on the 26th of March he followed Claire home on the tube.
I need to talk to you before I do something stupid.
I tried to ignore everything he was saying and doing as we were getting out of the tube at London Bridge. I said to him, "You just leave me alone. I want nothing more to do with you." As I was running away from the platform, Michael ran up behind me and pushed very hard, using just one hand.
Claire changed onto another train, but Pesch continued to follow her. She warned him she would call the police if he didn't leave her alone.
If you dare report me, I'm gonna kill you, remember that.
I then said to him, "If you leave now, I won't report you." He then started to be nice by trying to touch my face and kiss me, but I pushed him away. He then started to apologise, then got off the train, and due to the train not having left the platform, he began banging on the window and waving at me.
Claire phoned me up and she was crying down the phone. And she said, "Mum, I don't know what to do. I don't know whether to report him or not." And I didn't know what to do, because he made it very clear, "You will report me and I'll kill you." He was a military man, ex-military man. He knew how to use a gun. And we just didn't want to antagonise him.
If you dare report me, I'm gonna kill you, remember that.
When he said that he would kill Claire if she reported him, this is a clear sign that it's escalating. This is not something that you would casually say to someone. To actually state that you were going to kill them means that the germ of the idea is definitely in your mind and you want it to be in the other person's mind. It has escalated. This is a very serious situation.
It was at this point that Claire went to Harvey Nichols' management and made her statements chronicling the events of the previous weeks. In response, they put Pesh under observation and could clearly see him harassing Claire on their CCTV cameras. As a result, the company suspended Pesh from duty and banned him from entering the store or contacting any staff members. Meanwhile, Claire took her complaints about his behaviour to the Metropolitan Police.
A police investigation will look at the complete scenario, the wishes of the victim, what's been said, what's been done, what the likely outcome's going to be, and they'll consider a number of charges. Stalking, certainly. Threats to kill, perhaps. They'll look at the case as a totality and bring, in consultation with the Crown Prosecution Service, the right charges.
Claire's case was investigated by a young WPC based at Southwark's hate crime unit. In a statement to her, Claire revealed the efforts she was making to escape Pesh's stalking. Efforts that were unsuccessful.
Myself and my flatmate moved to a new address a week earlier based on Michael's behaviour and him harassing me. And on this day, I saw Michael walking away from the direction of our new address.
Moving address is unlikely to work. As is changing a telephone number. Stalkers tend to be very determined and often quite resourceful in this respect, and it's quite possible to track down somebody's change of address or change of telephone number within hours.
On the 6th of April, Pesh was formally suspended by Harvey Nichols at a disciplinary hearing. Police then arrested him at the store and took him in for questioning.
Can you state your full name and date of birth for the tape, please?
Michael Pesh, 12th July 1975.
And your solicitors are?
My name is Stephen Fiddler, and I'm from Stephen Fiddler & Co.
I first met Michael Pesh when I was called in as a duty solicitor. When I arrived at the police station, I asked, as I would always do in this sort of offence, whether there were any psychiatric problems and whether there was a need for an appropriate adult. And I spoke to the doctor and I asked him about it, and he was very open, very helpful. He said that he'd examined him fully. There were no psychiatric problems, and that he just put it down to love and obsessional love behaviour.
Do you want to tell me everything that's happened?
Pesh was well enough to be interviewed. There were no obvious signs at this stage of what he might go on to do. His account of his relationship with Claire was to vary wildly from hers.
What's been going on?
I have to say, in the beginning, I ended the relationship.
You ended the relationship?
I didn't say like it's over, but I made her feel like it was over.
Okay, what happened?
She was confused. It's just that she said that she loved me, and she really liked me the same way I liked her. It was just too strong for her as a young girl. The next day I realized I did not want to lose her.
There are two things that I think were striking from his interview. He initially indicated to the police that he felt that he had ended the relationship with Claire Bernal. And then he regretted it, he said to the police, that he had ended it. And then he went back to her and couldn't understand why she was not going to continue. He did say in the interview that he was sorry if he had upset her.
She then said that you said to her, if you dare report me, I'm going to kill you. Do you remember saying that?
No, what for?
You tell me.
I never say anything like that.
He admitted to what he was doing, bar one particular point, and that was the incident at London Bridge.
If you dare report me, I'm going to kill you, remember that.
He admitted the other incidents, but said that he wanted to see whether she still wanted to carry on with the relationship.
Other than Claire's word, the officers had no other evidence that Pesh had made threats to kill. Although he had now been brought to the police's attention, it was a threat he was still determined to carry out. After Michael Pesch's first police interview, the Crown Prosecution Service advised that he be allowed out on bail until further statements could be gathered. Pesch was free, on condition that he stayed away from the Harvey Nichols department store and the beauty consultant he'd been stalking for over 5 weeks, 22-year-old Claire Bernal.
Once bail conditions were set, we felt that the situation was being dealt with, and both Claire and I breathed a sigh of relief, and we really did think that the problem was over. But he wasn't scared of the police. He had no fear.
The bail conditions failed to deter Pesch from going near Claire. Just 4 days after they were set, he appeared again outside her home.
I promise I was not following you.
I felt really scared and shocked. I could not understand why he was there.
Claire called the police, who immediately arrested Pesch for breaking his bail conditions.
The fact that Pesch broke his bail conditions is possibly very indicative of the fact he was not taking the law seriously.
Mr. Pesch, you are charged with the harassment of Claire Bernal under Section 2 of the Protection from Harassment Act 1997. How do you plead?
Not guilty.
When Pesch appeared in court the next morning, his solicitor once again requested bail.
I request bail on the basis that the bail conditions imposed are adequate to overcome the Crown's objection that Mr. Pesch may commit further offences or interfere with prosecution witnesses.
The request was denied.
I'm refusing you bail on the grounds that you may reoffend or interfere with prosecution witnesses. You're remanded in custody for a period of 7 days.
Bail conditions are important. They protect the victim from further offences being committed against them. And any one breach of that is a serious matter, which can result in arrest and imprisonment. And in fact, that's what happened at Pesch.
Pesch was remanded in Belmarsh prison, and the trial date was set for the 31st of August.
We just knew that he was arrested on the 10th and that Claire never saw him again. So we all relaxed. Because he broke those bail conditions and he was never seen again, then we felt that the system was working.
But did the system work or did it fail? Just a week after Michael Pesch was remanded in custody in Belmarsh prison, he was let out a full 4 months before he was due to stand trial for harassing Claire. And in that 4 months came a series of events that was to end in her death.
At the centre of those events was Pesch, a man who had been given freedom to move around in public, even though he'd previously broken his bail conditions.
If a stalker once breaks an injunction or a bail condition, that is fairly ominous, and they cannot be trusted to adhere to such conditions or restrictions in the future.
Pesch wasn't only free to move around Britain, he was free to travel back to his home country, Slovakia. And when he did arrive back in Eastern Europe, he began planning Claire's murder.
It appears that Pesch went to Slovakia. No one knows exactly when he travelled, but it seems logical to suggest that it was probably sometime in May, because we know that he made his first step to obtain a firearm on the 8th of June.
In Slovakia, the process for applying for firearm permits starts off with the application to the police, which includes a background check, which in this instance didn't show any criminal conviction. It also has to be accompanied by a letter from the GP of the applicant to say that they're of sound mind. The second stage then consists of an exam.
Pesch cleared the background checks, and on the 14th of June 2005, he passed the firearms exam. A month later, he received a gun licence and bought a pistol, which he registered with the Slovakian police.
This pistol was a CZ75 semi-automatic pistol made in the Czech Republic, very, very popular all over Europe. This particular model was compact, so it was slightly smaller than the full-size version and ideal for carrying in a concealed manner.
In August, just days before he was due to stand trial for harassing Claire, Pesh was able to travel back into Britain carrying the gun.
Pesh went to Slovakia.